lights go up, then send them up. Okay, where are they? You got them. Brought in the 18. That's a sad state of affairs. That's you guys. They are on. I will unmute them shortly.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the member preview of the 40th Mill Valley Film Festival. I'm Doreen Aviv, your membership manager.
And I'm Alyssa Cox, your membership associate.
On Wednesday, you got the first glimpse of the incredible Mill Valley Film Festival program. And tonight you'll hear from our programmers about the hidden gems and not to be missed films in our lineup. We want to thank all the members here tonight and those viewing from home through live stream. Hi. Thank you for being a part of our community of people who believe in the power of film to educate, engage, and inspire. We couldn't have reached 40 years without your support, so thank you. Starting tomorrow and going through the 16th is the member pre-sale access to purchase tickets before the general public. If you have your program with you, you'll see all ticketing information on page 57. That page has your sale date and time, box office hours and locations, and more information about how to fest.
We will also have some really cool festival swag this year, and members get 10% off. We're also offering a 15% off for membership upgrades. You've definitely seen the program, and it's no secret that these big nights will sell out fast. It's not too late to upgrade your membership and get earlier ticket access. Also, if your membership is up for renewal before the festival, you can renew with us tonight. Doreen and I will be in the lobby after the presentation to answer any questions that you have, so come by and say hi.
And now I'd like to present you with a lovely treat. We're going to show you the Mill Valley Film Festival trailer from 1985. Enjoy.
Once a year, the eyes of the international turn to the tiny town of Mill Valley, California, with glorious cinematic. Once a year, the eyes of the international film community turn to the tiny town of Mill Valley, California, and its glorious cinematic celebration.
Of course, we had the debut of Paris, Texas last year, and that was very nice.
Very nice. I guess we're all looking forward to the film noir retrospective.
Yeah, we like that deep focus.
Well, there's a surface to the genre that, if anything, improves with age.
They're bringing back that Jane Russell movie, Hot Blood.
Helen and Bob want an answer about the video fest. Are we going or not?
Aaron says that the recent New Zealand films are better than the French New Wave.
I did not. I just said they were reminiscent.
That's stupid, Daddy. Where's their Truffaut? Where's their Godard?
Rich?
We are going to see the premiere of Huxley Wexler film, Latino.
We are Huxley Wexler's fans from way back.
Medium cool.
That Wim Wenders is such a nice young director.
There should be more like him.
So, am I going to see you at the premiere of that new Paul Schrader film?
Mishima?
Yeah.
No, I can't. My dad's taking us to Africa.
Well, can't you get out of it?
I was telling Morris, get this, we got this world premiere of Joseph Papp's new film starring Meryl Streep and John Gielgud, and he says, who's Joseph Papp?
You gotta be kidding me.
I don't know how that guy ever made Sergeant.
Of course, Eisenstein really wrote the book on film cutting. Everything since has more or less been a footnote. But some footnotes are more interesting than others. This year, we're having a panel of discussion with some of the best editors in the business. Marshall Lucas, Bob Dalga, Michael Chandler, Tom Sanford.
So God's up in heaven, and he looks down at his calendar and he sees the end of the world is coming up. And he decides that somebody should film it, right? So he has St. Peter go down and shop the property for a director. St. Peter comes back and says he can't find a director. And God says, well, what about Lucas? And St. Peter says, he won't do it. He'll produce it, but he won't direct it. That's no good, God says. Well, how about Spielberg? He can't do it. It's something to do with his contract. Well, how about Coppola, says St. Peter. God says, Coppola, I gotta make a profit on it.
Welcome to the stage, founder Mark Fishkin and director of programming Zoë Elton.
Okay, who recognized anyone in that trailer? All right, yeah. Wait a minute, was anyone in that trailer? Was he tonight?
I'm curious, how many people saw that, has seen that before? Yeah, well, great. A lot of people got to see it for the first time.
Ooh.
This was one of the first work done by Goodby Silverstein in Berlin at the time. And that was Rich Silverstein, who was with the family with, Where's the Godard, et cetera. So it's a lot of fun. It's a classic, and up until, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, we would get a call at least once a month for people asking to see that trailer. Well, we're very excited, and we welcome both our audiences here at the Smith-Ruffel Film Center and online. We have an amazing schedule for our 40th anniversary, and we're really excited about it. I would be remiss, though, if I don't mention that this is the anniversary of 9/11, and it resonates with us for many, many reasons. We did have our press conference on 9/11, and I remember driving to the city before I hit the Golden Gate Bridge, and my publicist saying, don't get on the bridge, we're canceling the press conference. But not only is it important to remember these things, I think it's also important to equate them to what we do when we talk about the mission for the California Film Institute in terms of celebrating film as art and education. We didn't really talk about it that much, maybe for the first decade or so, in terms of the power of film. It was always about, well, how can we get a grant? Nobody looks at film as art. But really, that was our hidden agenda. And it's now more important than ever that we have films that have something to say. Of course, there are films that are just a delight, and we have plenty of those, and films that have something to say, and films that do both. And so we're so blessed to be part of this and to be able to create conversation amongst people all around the world by showing and exhibiting these films at the Mill Valley Film Festival and at CFI, the Ruffel Film Center, at Docklands, and by distributing films like The Fencer. So thank you for being part of this.
Pardon? What?
Would you like to introduce our guests here? Or
our fabulous colleagues. Yes, we have with us tonight Joanne Passant and Janice Plotkin, who are going to join us. And Stellan's coming up a bit later. Sure. Yeah, okay. Come on up.
I'm going to make you.
Well, we want to give you a little bit of the scope of the festival here. And thank you. I think I have this one here, but I do appreciate that. Of course, I just have to find my notes. We have 32 premieres, and when we define premieres, that's U.S. premieres or North American premieres or world premieres. We have approximately about 50 films in our world section, and about 25 in our U.S. section, and a similar amount in our documentary section. And of course, we have our new branding of our family film section. Joanne, would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
I would love to tell you a little bit about that. There was actually a time long ago and far away when I programmed the Children's Film Fest. I don't know if any of you maybe remember back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then I left for a long time, and so I am back to happily to work on the Family Films program, which has changed its name a couple of times, and this year we are trying to really we were really looking at a way to make this a very inclusive, more intergenerational program, where we were really struggling to get not just the concept of children and the concept of family, which often sounds super young and doesn't include the wide range of ages and young people involved in families, and we really wanted to get that young adult audience as well. And we have a lot of really interesting program in the festival that reaches that audience and actually includes them as filmmakers. So we have rebranded the Family Film Program to be now called Filmhood, kind of like boyhood and childhood and adulthood and girlhood. We want to welcome you to Filmhood, where everyone is welcome of all ages.
Thank you, Joanne. We have a great selection of trailers that we want to show you this evening, but before that, we want to tell you a little bit about some of the new things that are going on at the 40th anniversary. What's new again was old at one time. We used to have the beautiful Maybach-designed outdoor art club for 11 days, and then we scaled back, and this year, the outdoor art club will be open for 11 days. So that will be a place where you can meet. Will be held there, including Mind the Gap Day, our VR section, which we'll talk a little bit about later. And Zoe, are there other new things you want to mention?
New things. Okay, I thought. Okay, now you got me a little bit. I thought we were talking about that later. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, I think
yeah,
that
the
would be
updates. All right. Okay. There are a few things that are added and not in the or not in the schedule. One thing that's new this year is we're doing a special day of programming at our Mind the Gap Summit. Those of you who are familiar with the festival's initiatives, Active Cinema, Viva El Cine, and Mind the Gap, which is our women's initiative, know that we've been really striving to get inclusiveness in our programming. This year for our 40th, we decided to go for 40% female directors at the festival. We've noticed other festivals, going there, but not quite getting as far as we have. What we really went for was to try and do this across the board. But what we've also done as we focus on women and film and tech is to initiate a day's programming at the Outdoor Art Club, which will be looking at women, film, and technology. It'll be a deep dive into those worlds, and I think it's going to be an incredible day. It'll start, there's 2 sessions, a morning session, which will culminate in Catherine Hardwicke, the director who did Twilight, 13, doing her directing work, like a director's masterclass as a part of the day. The afternoon will include guest speakers like Osnat Shura, who's the producer of Moana, the woman who is the producer of the visual effects for Wonder Woman, and an incredible team of people who work behind the scenes on Mudbound. So it'll be like a full day's immersion, and it's a brand new thing for us. Other things also, on the first Sunday of the festival, we're doing a special program with Metamorphosis Junior Year, a film that was made by students at Palo Alto High School. And in conjunction with that, we're going to be doing a screenwriting workshop for teenagers. So some of the people who worked with the teens who developed the movie will be working with a small group of kids, of young people, on screenwriting. The program was done by Tom Franco. It's based on a book by his mother, Betsy Franco, and you may know his brother, James Franco, because they've all been involved with Mill Valley. Some guy who was in Milk. What do I say? You know, anyway, that also is in alignment with what Joanne was mentioning in our trying to sort of work more with young adults. Do you want to pick up from there? Because I think were we going to talk about world cinema a little bit?
Yes, why don't we talk a little bit about world cinema? We're going to actually show a few great trailers here, and typically we have a slide on there, at least the last time we did this. But world cinema, as I mentioned, has 50 films, and there's some of the best international cinema coming from the Cannes Film Festival. Films like Loveless, which played in competition. You'll see in this role trailers from The Square, which won the Palme d'Or from Sweden, from the director who did Force Majeure, and a couple of our other bigger films as well that we'll talk more about later. Do you want to mention anything about one of your favorite world cinema, Janice?
Cinema. There's a beautiful film and a Japanese film called Radiance by the director Naomi Kawase. Really lovely retelling of a story about someone who writes the scripts for sound to script. It's a profession for those who come to movies who have trouble hearing. And she falls in love with one of the, I guess you would say, panel of advisors who himself is a photographer and going blind. And the title is Radiance, and it's full of light and ultimately love. Very beautiful.
Well, why don't we roll the clips from this, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about world cinema and the other programs. We have to move?
Are we in your way?
I could ask you to dance, and you could say, well, I don't feel like dancing. And then I could say, well, maybe some other time. Or I could just not ask.
Diana, this is your future life we're talking about. But you hardly know him. He's practically a stranger.
The thing is, I just know this is it. I love you, Robin.
I'm not feeling too good. I can't move. What's going on?
Robin,
get another respirator!
People paralyzed and high polio don't last long.
Can't move anything from the neck down. Can't even breathe for yourself. How do you live like this? You get used to it.
I love you, and I want Jonathan to know you.
You can't have this.
Yes, I can. There must be something I can do.
Get me out of here.
Robin's going to leave the hospital.
No one with your husband's disability exists outside the hospital.
Has anyone ever tried? Robin! Robin! You're right, darling.
Much better.
£5 says you'll never make it.
You're on. Darling, call Teddy. I've had an idea.
A wheelchair that does his breathing for him. Are you sure it's safe?
It's worked so far.
Alan!
You owe me £5.
Hammy bastard.
Why do you keep your disabled people in prison?
No one's believed it's possible to live as you do.
Well, we should open the gates and set them free.
Bloody marvelous.
What now, Robin? A world tour?
Wouldn't that be an adventure? When I first became paralyzed, I wanted to die. My wife told me I had to live. See our son grow up.
Your life is my life.
I don't want to just survive. I want to truly live.
I love my life.
I think he should be in hospital. No?
You're quite right. No.
1971 war die Welt in Bewegung. Aber da bei uns war es, als würde sie stillstehen.
Wir kämpfen für die Befreiung der Frauen.
Ich fühle mich aber nicht unfrei.
Aha. Wegen Frauen weniger als nicht Führerschein.
Wie fändest du, wenn ich wieder ein bisschen arbeiten würde?
Mir ist dir da wichtiger als unsere Familie. Und ohne meine Zustimmung kannst du auch gar nicht. So ist das Gesetz.
Frauen in der Politik, meine lieben Damen, ist schlichtweg gegen die göttliche Ordnung. Nein, ich bin nämlich fürs Frauenstimmrecht. Zum Glück ist Ihre Meinung nicht ausschlaggebend.
Ich bin dabei.
Dabei?
Ich bin im Kampf.
In Italien, die Leute streiken, wenn sie was wollen.
Wir müssen unsere Vaginas kennenlernen. The Eye of God.
Was hat sie gesagt?
Nee, das ist etwas Blasphemisches. Also.
Ich finde auch vieles ungerecht. Und ich mache nicht so einen Aufstand.
Wenn der nicht aufhört, unternehmen wir etwas.
Komm,
Die Männer machen Gesetz. Aber betroffen von dem Gesetz sind wir auch. Weil es eigentlich glasklar ist, wie himmelschreiend ungerecht da ist.
Für wer darf ich reservieren?
Für das lokale Aktionskomitee fürs Frauenstimmrecht.
Das Weib hat in der Gemeinde zu schweigen. So steht es in der Bibel.
Du sollst nicht Ehe brechen, steht auch in der Bibel.
Mr. Perlman. Thank you so much.
Très confiant, hein? I can show you around.
That'd be great. Thank you. So what do you do around here?
Read books, transcribe music, swim at the river, go out at night.
Sounds fun. All right, later.
Veramente è meglio di quello dell'anno scorso.
Just watch. This is how we'll say goodbye to us when the time comes. Later.
Meanwhile, we'll have to put up with him for 6 long weeks.
Muscles are firm. Not a straight body in these statues. They're all curved. Sometimes impossibly curved, and so nonchalant, hence their ageless ambiguity, as if they're daring you to desire them.
Oh, to see without my eyes. The first time that you give.
Is there anything you don't know?
Boundless by the time I cry.
You only knew how little I know about the things that matter.
Build your walls around.
What things that matter?
White noise, what an awful sound.
You know what things.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
Feel my feet above the ground.
You shouldn't have said anything.
Just pretend you never did.
Nature has cunning ways of finding our weakest spot.
Blessed be the mystery of love.
Call me by your name and I'll call you by mine.
It's kind of interesting. We showed, the clips we're showing from of world cinema. 2 of them were English language. I don't want you to think that everything is English language. You've got we've got like, I think you said 50 different countries. I mean, some of my favorites would be Félicité, which is an amazing African film by Alan Gomi that Janice and I saw in Berlin. Also, Faces, Places by Agnes Varda and J.R. was at the Cannes Film Festival and is a wonderful revelation of a film. You'll read about it, but just to put that one on your radar, it's really kind of wonderful. And also, we've had films by Aki Kaurismäki before, and you know, Mark was talking about crises in the world that we've experienced recently. Aki Kaurismäki is the Finnish filmmaker who has a very idiosyncratic personal style, and in this instance, he's really relating it to refugees. But it's like only Aki Kaurismäki could be making a film about a refugee that includes wacky musical interludes and sushi. So The Other Side of Hope is definitely a film that, you know, addresses some of the things that currently we're thinking about and dealing with.
These films that you saw are terrific, and of course that was Andrew Garfield in Breathe, but it's a true story of Robin Cavendish who had got polio. But what I love about this film as well is not only are you dealing with the really important aspect of, he was a fierce advocate, for, obviously, for people with disabilities, but it's an amazing love story, and that was Claire Foy, who's from The Crown, in that film. But in terms of small films, there were a lot of films that we mentioned, like Loveless and what Zoe talked about from competition in Cannes, but there was a number of Italian films that were not in competition, but in either in certain regard or the director's fortnight. And there's one little one that I really like, it's called A Ciambra, and it's an unusual film because it's all non-professional casts of Roma and this village of gypsies in Italy. And the director had done a short there a couple of years, or maybe 4 or 5 years before, and then he went on to make a feature called Mediterranean, which was very successful. So he came back to make this feature version of it, and he was interviewing a young man for the lead, and he introduced himself, and the young man said, well, I know who you are. I've seen you before. He goes, well, where have you seen me? He said, well, I stole your car, and I ransomed it back to you. So, a true story.
I wanted to talk a little bit about art, technology, and cinema, which are all really combined together in our focus on Polish film, in particular 70 Years of Polish Animation, which is one of the programs called Under the Radar. This is going to be featuring about 11 short animated works from Poland, starting in 1957 during the Cold War, and then up till today, because a second program, which is actually going to be screening as the other film that you can see on October 5th, otherwise known as opening night, called Loving Vincent. And whereas with the short animation, they're using hands-on technique, with Loving Vincent, it's a rotoscopic animation, which means that we have actors acting, but the camera is animating them. And this film, Loving Vincent, is about Vincent van Gogh, the last 10 days of his life. And they are, the way the story is told is using his own friends that he painted in his paintings. Therefore, every single frame of the film looks like a painting of Vincent van Gogh. And the art itself was hand-painted. In addition to the rotoscope, they had 120 artists that were hand-painting onto the frames of the film. It's really quite magnificent, and we will have two of the painters here with us. And back again to the update on 70 years of Polish animation, Under the Radar. We're bringing from Poland one of the world's leading animators named Mariusz Wilczynski, who's going to do something pretty exciting, which is he does live animation in real time, riffing off of music. And we have a local musicians, Beth Custer, Stephen Kent from a band called Transmission, and they're going to be working together in this theater on Saturday, October 7th. And that program, thanks to the U.S. government visa issuing or lack thereof, will be free admission because of the challenges of getting a performance visa for anyone now it's very difficult. So,
but we still need to get tickets, right?
You still have to get tickets, yeah, but it's free admission, and it should be really special. Sorry? Under the Radar, 70 years of Polish animation, featuring Mariusz Wilczynski and Transmission. 7th.
So one film I wanted to mention, which sort of crosses a lot of area in bringing up animation, in the Film Hood section, but it's a documentary hybrid animation, amazing, stunning storytelling experience. We wanted to show a trailer tonight, but it's been embargoed by the filmmakers because they're not quite done with it and they wanted it not to be public yet. But I know that you guys should have received an email, a member email today, this afternoon, that actually has an exclusive sneak preview trailer link that you can watch it on, which I highly encourage you to do when you get home. This film it was made in Swaziland with a group of orphaned kids who were brought into a storytelling workshop to basically take their personal traumas and experiences and use them for fodder for storytelling, and then they animate their story as they're going along in the course of the film. So it sort of intersperses between them creating the film and this storytelling workshop with this incredible local storyteller and this stunning animation that brings to life the story that they created about this girl Liana. It's like nothing else I've seen before. And the filmmaker will be here, and I'm very excited about that film.
One of the things...
Oh, and it's called... That is called... And just find it. It's called Liana.
One of the interesting things about this time of year is that the individual countries internationally are announcing their films that are up for consideration for Academy Award. Films like The Fencer, that's playing here at the Rafael, and our series that we do in January. So far we have 8 or 9 that have been announced already that are in the festival. The Divine Order from Switzerland, and maybe we can post this at some point. In the Fade from Germany. The Insult from Lebanon. The Square from Sweden, which I also mentioned won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. Summer 1993 from Spain. Thelma from Norway, from the director of Louder Than Bombs. With Sun from Nepal. And Spore from Poland by Agnieszka Holland.
Also, a Song of Granite.
Just announced today, right?
Yeah. Song of Granite from Ireland is the last one. So that's 9. That's pretty great, I think. We're not done yet. So we pat ourselves on the backs when we realize that we have good taste.
The next number of clips that we want to show are dealing with our documentary section. So the 3 you're going to see is Dirtbag, The Legend of Friend Becky, Mankiller, and Human Flow. But there are just countless great documentaries, and some of them are new. One that we've just added. Would you like to say this gentleman's name?
Certainly. The title of the film is Love, Cecil. Now, you may think it should be Cecil, but he's a Brit. So I promise you, everybody in the film calls him Cecil, as in Cecil Beaton. And you will probably know him from his absolutely extraordinary photography. Really world-renowned for pictures of the bright young things in the 1920s, but then he also segued into taking a lot of photographs of the royal family. There are extraordinary pictures of Edith Sitwell, but he was a designer as well for stage and also for screen.
Actually, in My Fair Lady,
right.
Everything that you see on that screen was designed by him. The clothes, the sets, it's amazing.
Yeah. So that's pretty great.
And when is that going to play?
We don't know yet, do we?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't think we've got that. No, maybe we do. We do have a date.
It's on your added list. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. This is the cheat sheet here. Yes, you've got an updates list. I love this. I don't have one of these.
No one tells us anything.
Yeah, Saturday, October the 7th, 6:15 at Sequoia 2. So, yeah, that's pretty great. What else in the doc land? No, that's the one. That's the one. Oh, yeah, I know. There's also the members screening, which is Dealt, which is going to be so cool. It's a film. Actually, Joanne, you have a much better. You're a much better descriptor of this one than I am. Go for it.
You mean because I've seen it?
Yeah.
So this is a documentary about some people call him a card magician. He calls himself a card mechanic. His name is Richard Turner.
Card mechanic.
Card mechanic, as in playing cards. He actually does not go anywhere without a deck of cards, or sometimes in his hand, sometimes one in each hand. And he's constantly, even when he's sleeping, he has cards in his hand. So he does this incredible work with cards, and he travels the world, and he's this incredible. He does things that look more like he's uncovering how sort of scam artists with cards can get one over on you, or how it works to sort of do these special card tricks. But there's just one little glitch in that he is completely blind. And it is unreal what this man can do. But the story is actually really amazing too, from just his personal experience. And actually, he does not like the fact that people always refer to him the way I just referred to him, which is he's this incredible magician or card mechanic, but he's blind. He wants to be that, despite, like, the blind should not be relevant. So it's a really wonderful story about disability, and how he's processing and deals with his disability. And I believe we are anticipating or hoping that he will.
We are working
here.
on trying to get him here. We don't know 100% yet if that will happen, but we're hoping so, because he would like to come, we think. So we're working on that. We think it'll be kind of great. And again, same thing as usual. You know, it's free to members, but you will need to get your ticket. It's called Dealt, D-E-A-L-T. Date?
I believe it's on October 8th at p.m. I'm not sure where that information came in my head, but there's
Probably,
a lot of information in my head. I'm pretty sure that's when it is.
Yeah. If you look on the grid in your schedule, you will see it says member screening.
Can someone check if I got that?
It's at the cinema.
Correct.
At
It's
the
at the
cinema.
cinemas.
That's what we were.
Okay.
We were afraid of that.
We're blocking the subtitles. However, we're done with the subtitled films now. So if you don't mind the feet being blocked, we'll stay
I may
here.
actually get up, because by the end of this, I will have a sore neck. So I'm going to go to the side.
So we're going to roll the docs?
Roll the docs.
Would you like us to get down? Yes, no, yes, no. We'll do that.
The chair itself.
No, we're not moving the chairs. Sorry.
Do you think people considered you sort of a renegade climber?
They probably think I'm pretty independent. It's all right. I don't care what they think.
He was driven like nobody I'd ever met, relentlessly.
You think you can make it to the summit, Fred, on this trip?
I don't know. Hope so.
He's had to leave a few burning bridges behind in order to live the life that he's wanted to live.
Fred chose this other lifestyle.
He created his own culture. It became a culture of one. He's the grandfather of the road trip.
His name is everywhere. He was there before the rest of us were.
The guy knows more about the mountains of North America than anyone that's ever lived.
Just one-track mind most of the time. If it wasn't on women, it was on climbing.
Fred was lively and addictive. There's some sort of magnetism there.
Right now, I don't know what I'm doing except tomorrow. I have no idea.
As kids, we were together all the time.
Our relationship deteriorated because he continued to climb, and I did not climb anymore.
Fred was only focused on climbing, and he never felt sorry for you if your climbing ended up in a divorce.
Totally obsessive. That's who Fred is. You know, obsessive behavior can lead to absolute genius.
Some people may think it's an adventure to go on a cruise ship to the Mediterranean. To me, it's no adventure at all unless somebody bombs the ship.
His contemporaries, they founded companies. They were like movie stars for a while. That was, to me, has been one of the great mysteries. Why did the best climber of all never go on to the greatness that they all did?
He's a dirtbag, and because of that, I don't think he'll get the recognition that he really deserves.
This is the story of an American hero, someone who humbly defied the odds, overcame insurmountable obstacles to fight injustice, and gave a voice to the voiceless. This is the story of American legend, Wilma Mankiller.
My own personal perspective is that I'm a pretty ordinary person that just happened to be given an opportunity to do extraordinary things in my life.
When Wilma Mankiller was 10, she and her family were relocated from Cherokee lands in Oklahoma to San Francisco.
Our move to California was part of a relocation program designed to, quote, solve the Indian problem.
It was an act of genocide.
That was the real start of her journey, for better or for worse.
It was in San Francisco during the Civil Rights era that she found her voice and a belief in the power to make change.
Being a bystander to history was not her destiny.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag.
And that's where places like Alcatraz really made a big difference.
It ain't me. It's always been a struggle to maintain tribal sovereignty. We're under siege. I tell you, it's going to take a fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Cherokee Nation Chief of Chiefs, Wilma Mankiller.
Chief Wilma Mankiller in the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma. Hello!
Women in leadership in eastern Oklahoma are a rare commodity.
Sexism is like racism. It's very dehumanizing.
Even though she faced tragedy in her life, she didn't give up. She is an embodiment of the strength of Cherokee women.
She was determined to let the Cherokee people be on their own without all the bureaucracy of the federal government.
I've done everything I could do to make everybody in the world mad at me this last 4 years. I don't beat around the bush.
Wilma and I are so far apart politically, it's not even humorous. I'm very conservative, and Wilma is very liberal, but I always supported her.
It's a story of meeting adversity time after time and getting up, starting over again, and beginning to rebuild.
I mean, she went from being a street kid in Oakland to being a member of the Ford Foundation.
She was not only the guardian of the centuries-old Cherokee heritage, but a revered leader who built a brighter and healthier future for her nation.
There is no single word to describe Wilma Mankiller.
Activist,
advocate,
leader,
mother, wife,
chief.
I really didn't realize until I got older the impact Mom had on not just the Indian people, but the world.
In a just country, she would have been elected president.
Being a refugee is much more than a political status. It is the most pervasive kind of cruelty that can be exercised against a human being. You are forcibly robbing this human being of all aspects that would make human life not just tolerable, but meaningful in many ways.
The more immune you are to people's suffering, that's very, very dangerous. It's critical for us to maintain this humanity.
الان 60 روزه با پسرم همینطوری داریم میچرخیم ولی هیچ کس نیستش که بگه یه راهی رو بخواد به ما نشون بده. کجا برم زندگیمو شروع کنم؟
If
children grow up without any hope, without any prospects for the future, without any sense of them being able to make something out of their lives, then they will become very vulnerable to all sorts of exploitation, including radicalization.
ليش انتوا هنا اليوم؟
طشة لأنه آخر الفصل المنفذ الوحيد في غزة، في السجن الكبير غزة، مش في غزة، السجن كبير يعني.
The officials came here and told them, look, there's no way you're going to get papers to continue. Either you go voluntarily or we arrest you.
I respect you. I respect the passport and I respect you.
It's going to be a big challenge to recognize that the world is shrinking and people from different religions, different cultures are going to have to learn to live with each other.
That's just a taste of the many incredible documentaries that we have. Many from local Bay Area filmmakers. Jamie Redford has a film called The Happening, dealing with the positive aspects of what's going on in terms of technology and dealing with the problems of climate change.
Well, it's interesting just seeing this clip from Ai Weiwei's film. As you know, he is the Chinese artist who did the amazing installation on Alcatraz a couple of years ago. But seeing how he is turning his art and craft to the refugee crisis and making comparison with the Finnish director Aki Kaurismäki, it's kind of, it's like, I think at a film festival you get a full spectrum of approaches to things that are going on in the world. I also got an interesting email today from somebody who's a great friend, lifetime friend of Ram Dass, the spiritual teacher. And as you probably know, his early days were spent in part with people like Wavy Gravy on a commune called The Hog Farm. It wasn't until I got this email that I realized that this short film that we have about Ram Dass is on a double bill with a longer film called The Last Pig. It was an unintentional reference to the hog farm, is all I can say.
I wanted to just mention, as we were talking about the relevancy of the films in the festival, is that we have a local film that's having its world premiere, The Long Shadow, by Francis Kazi, who had an earlier film in the festival several years ago called Heist. It's co-creator and co-edited by Maureen Gosling. Perhaps you know her work as well. We've shown over many decades.
Well, actually, Maureen has the distinction of being a filmmaker who worked on a film that we showed at the very first Mill Valley Film Festival. So there's an amazing longevity there.
It's fantastic. The Long Shadow is really a incredible retelling of the history of racism in America, starting from our early origins with the Civil War. No, with the War of Independence. I mean, she's tracing her own family's history as slave owners and the race conversation as it continues till today with statues and taking down statues and all the questions and conversations that we've been having through the press in the last several weeks is in the film. It's quite special, The Long Shadow.
I know we're talking about documentaries now, but there's a really interesting connection between that and Mudbound. Let's come back to that in a moment, but let me just put a pin in that thought.
Well, that's actually a perfect timing because we are going to move on and talk about U.S. cinema. And without looking behind me, there should be a still coming up, Dan, of Mudbound. And Zoe, would you like to talk a little bit about the film?
Yeah. Mudbound played at Sundance earlier on this year. The filmmaker Dee Reese had a film at Mill Valley a few years ago called Pariah. And Mudbound is set in the South, and it looks at a couple of different families. And it's really exquisite storytelling, as it really looks into that, I guess we call it the antebellum period, right, in America, in a way that explores race but tells stories in such a deeply human way. Carey Mulligan is in it. She was here a couple of years ago, as you'll remember. Mary J. Blige is in it, in a role that, I mean, I found her almost unrecognizable. But it's really, really powerful filmmaking. So we're going to be honoring her with a spotlight, which will be on Saturday the 7th. I really feel like she's a really important talent in American filmmaking.
The films that we're going to roll are relatively, you know, some of the larger American independents. We can come back and talk about some of the others as well. So you're going to see clips from Wonderstruck, Last Flag Flying, The Florida Project, and the Meyerowitz Stories, New and Selected. So enjoy, and we'll be back in a minute.
Oh my God. How do you know my name?
You know what amazes me about you?
Well, it could be anything. I'm a pretty amazing guy.
You turn the keys to your bar over to the guy who's asleep on your pool table, and then you jump in your car and you drive me to hell and gone, and you don't even know where we're going.
Ask the question, am I willing to surrender to God?
What the hell happened to Mueller the Mauler? First-class drinker, gambler.
I see we have some visitors amongst us here today. We were in the service together with your pastor.
I haven't seen these men in decades. They represent a dark period in my life.
That went down awfully quick.
Drinking for two now that you got all old and boring.
Shine down a light on me. Because of my son, I came here, found you guys. A year ago, we joined the Corps, and then 2 days ago, they told me that he'd been killed. He's gonna be buried in Arlington, and I was wondering if you guys could come with me. I've come to you in search of some... You sent him off to a godforsaken desert. Why? I'm taking Larry home.
With all due respect, sir, he deserves to lie at Arlington.
You're gonna take Doc back and try to make it fun.
You're cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Did you look at these faces? They've already been spited.
I thought we were going to a funeral.
We are going to a funeral. Just looks like it's going to take a little longer to get there.
What you gonna do? Strap the coffin to the roof of your car?
We could do that.
Old man
thing that made Larry different from the rest of us, he had a happy childhood.
He said that?
Yes, sir.
If there's 1 minute that's not too terrible, I'd like to try to enjoy it. His Holiness can hardly walk, let alone handle a big rig with a hydraulic lift.
This is a rental with an automatic transmission.
You guys ready for an adventure? Let's go. What do you smell? Urine. I love it. It's like the official scent of the city.
Things that come into your head and out of your mouth.
You worry too much. That's why your hair went so gray.
Could you resist a man in this uniform?
I don't think I could.
You're there for your brothers. Yeah, that's all that really matters.
Get out of the way.
Okay, you want to play? Let's play.
Hey, move! Hey, you trying to get me killed? I will bury your ass.
Mueller has arrived!
Okay, I warned you. One drip and you're out.
Oh, come on!
Out now.
It's gonna melt outside.
It's melting inside, too.
But Bobby...
Out. Thank you very much.
You're not welcome! The man who lives in here gets arrested a lot. These are the rooms we're not supposed to go in. But let's go anyway. Could you give us some change, please? The doctor said we have asthma and we gotta eat ice cream right away. Here you go.
Hey, Lee, we got a situation here. Open up. It's only second week of the summer and there's already been a dead fish in the pool.
We're trying to get it back alive.
Water balloons thrown at tourists.
Boobies! Boobies!
I failed as a mother, Moni.
Yeah, Mom, you're a disgrace.
New job?
Yeah.
If you're working, who's looking after Moni?
You're not my father.
I don't want to be your father.
You can't treat me like this. You don't think everybody knows what's up, Haley? Everybody.
She's about to cry. I can always tell when adults are about to cry. Why is my mom yelling?
They're just talking. They got to figure something out.
See, I took you on a safari. Whoa. Let's go, come on.
Have a nice day.
Love you, Bobby!
I love you, too.
You remember that song I wrote about that guy who worked at your studio who you never remembered his name? His name was Byron, but you called him Myron. 3 times you called him Myron, till you heard the other guy say it with a B. Byron, 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 Byron. What does it matter if you look him in the eye? Say it with confidence and look him in the eye. Don't look at your shoes, don't look at the sky. Say it with confidence and look him in the eye. Myron.
Sean Baker, isn't he great?
Yeah, and not to mention Brooklyn Prince.
Oh my God! Yeah, the little girl in that you saw in Florida Stories there. We show the Florida Project rather. We're showing the Florida Project 2 nights in a row, and the second night we're going to be showing it across from a film called Molly's Game, and that will be our director's night this year. So last year, you may remember, we had a night when we had 2 great directors in. The one was with Moonlight, which went on to great accolades, and the other was with A Monster Calls. This year, we put together the Florida Project with Sean Baker here, and Molly's Game with first-time director Aaron Sorkin. So that will be kind of an exciting evening. Yeah.
There is a lot of films from the Bay Area, and the majority of them are documentaries, but not all of them. And there's a film called Quest by an East Bay filmmaker that really deals with his upbringing, which was kind of tough, and he was headed down the wrong track, and then he met a gentleman, and this is a true story, who became his mentor. Ultimately, he went with a full scholarship to Stanford, went to Wall Street, made $1 million, and made this movie about this incredible man who changed his life. And again, the film is called Quest. We'll be playing both on the 14th and the 15th. And one of the stars is Lou Diamond Phillips, and he will be here with that film as well.
Actually, you're bringing up some of our local film directors. Fraser Bradshaw is what I would call a local auteur. He has now made 2 films, which he wrote, directed, shot, edited, produced, and I also understand wrote the music. The film is called The Deep Sky, and it goes to territory that we don't often explore, which has to do with a couple that decides to invite a third person into a menage a trois. It's both, how would I say, it's both intellectual and sensual. They ask a lot of important questions about their own relationship and their love for each other. So we're hosting the world premiere of The Deep Sky here, and hope to have a lot of locals who are part of the production joining us as well. So you may want to check that one out.
There's some of the films, the trailers you saw are part of our big nights, and I think we might as well just say a little bit about some of those. You already saw Breathe with Andrew Garfield, and he will be receiving the Mill Valley Award for his performance in that film as an advocate for disabilities, and it's just an amazing story of somebody who not just lived, but lived an incredibly active, useful life from getting polio at 23, and he lived to, I believe, in his 60s. The other film that you saw, Wonderstruck, is an amazing film, and actually we had the pleasure of seeing it today at our press conference at Dolby Laboratories, which is almost as good as this theater.
Yeah, Todd Haynes was at the festival before with I'm Not There, his film about Bob Dylan, which included Cate Blanchett as Bob Dylan. And Wonderstruck is based on what's essentially a YA novel by Brian Selznick, who also wrote the screenplay. It's really exquisite. As you can see, I feel like I fall in love with cinema every time I see a Todd Haynes film. It's just exquisite work. The cinematography is brilliant, and tells 2 stories of a kid in 1977 and a girl in 1927, and it's just goes back and forth between these 2 eras pretty seamlessly, and it's exquisite. If you've read the book, it's very true to the book. It's beautiful.
And again, the stars are the young children, but it's extremely cinematic and moving. Last Flag Flying, which you just saw with Brian Canston, Steve Carell, and Lauren Fishburne, directed by Richard Linklater, is our centerpiece. Richard Linklater will be here with that film as well. And we do have some additions for our opening.
For opening, yes, we do. Yeah. Did you want to finish up on the other big nights first, or should we go there first? Okay.
Excuse me for bouncing away.
That's okay.
Let's see.
We've got 2 great actresses, for
instance. Yes, we do.
Kristen Scott Thomas.
Yeah, Kristen Scott Thomas will be here for opening, and then she will be honored the next day as well. And it's a little unusual because we'll be showing Darkest Hour both for the opening and during her tribute. She is also going to be here on Saturday when she will be in another film called The Party. So we're really delighted to have her here for that length of time. And we also will be honoring Holly Hunter. So we're really thrilled to have one of the greatest actresses of any generation really here.
Yeah, I think, we had the piano as opening night in 1993, I think it was.
Opening or closing?
Oh, good question. I don't know.
Was anyone there that night?
We mentioned Dee Reese, and we have an actor we're going to be acknowledging as well, right?
Yeah, it's what's wonderful about doing this for 40 years, that there are so many people. We mentioned some of them who have been friends of the festival and are here again. And there's nobody who's been as good a friend as Sean Penn to this festival. So we're delighted to be doing our special 40th anniversary to Sean and his life achievement. And we will be doing interviews and clips. And again, not just one of the great actors of a generation, but of multiple generations. 2-time Academy Award winner, 5-time nominated. He's been on this stage before. You may have seen him with I Am Sam, 21 Grams with Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu, with our Films of Our Life, where he presented Come and See, the brilliant Russian film on Belarus, that his father took him to at UCLA Film Archives when he was a young man, and had a profound influence on him in terms of the genocide in Belarus. So it's going to be a very special night having him here as well.
An opening night. The big ta-da for our other opening night film, in addition to Darkest Hour, is in complete contrast with that, which we think is kind of great. It's going to be the world premiere of a film called Wait for Your Laugh. You will understand entirely what that phrase, wait for your laugh, means when you see the film. It's a film about Rose Marie, who's an entertainer who has been on the boards for 90 years. Growing up in England, I was familiar with her because the Dick Van Dyke Show was on TV, even in England, and she played his co-writer in The Office, with a little bow here. She has an extraordinary life. Hollywood Squares with Peter Marshall, but Dick Van Dyke, and then early life was pretty.
Most people don't know that she was as famous. I think even
as a child star, right?
As a child star, at 5 years old, she was making $1,000 a performance. She was literally the Shirley Temple of the time, and of course, all the money disappeared. And then you find out, I can just give you a little bit, that her father was basically part of the mafia, and there were people like Al Capone who were basically her godfather. So it's an incredible story. It fits right in with our Mind the Gap. She was a strong, loving woman. Her husband was the love of her life, who was a musician with Bing Crosby's orchestra. And it's just a heartwarming, funny movie that stars also Dick Van Dyke, and
Carl Reiner. Yeah.
And we hope to have some surprises for you on that evening.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great contrast to the departure for us. It'll be great. What else? Oh, there's one thing I do want to mention, Mark, is that we're playing a film that we played at the first Mill Valley Film Festival during this film festival. It's going to be Woodstock. We couldn't resist. In the first film festival, it was shown as part of a tribute to David Myers, a cinematographer who was a Mill Valley resident. And this year we're showing it just because.
So there's a couple of great films before we kind of close on talk about closing night. We mentioned a lot of the highly anticipated films, but there's others that we didn't talk about. Is it The Fantastic Woman, A Fantastic Woman?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, from Berlin. And if you read any of the A.O. Scott's article from the New York Times, he talked about all these highly anticipated films, but he ended with this film as literally his favorite film. In addition to that, we have 3 billboards from Ebbing, Missouri, from Martin McDonough. You might have remembered 7 Psychopaths. He was here a few years ago with that film. And it's dark. It's at times funny. It stars one of your favorite actresses.
Frances McDormand.
Yes, and one of my favorite actors, Woody Harrelson.
Oh, you thought you were going to say Sam Waterston.
Yes, him as well. And we would highly recommend, all those films. And addition to that, with the Helen Mirren and Donald Southern in the Leisure Seekers.
Yeah, I would say the Leisure Seeker, but nobody would understand what I was talking about,
Cecil,
right?
Yes. Yeah. And in addition to that, what are we forgetting, guys?
Well, I think I'm going to propose that we actually go off script a little bit and invite Dominique and Sterling up, because we have a final trailer to show, but perhaps rather than popping up and popping down, we have a little something that we wanted to do, which was sort of a fast round of some of our favorite films. So can I invite Sterling Hedgepeth and Dominique O'Neill to join us? Sterling, as you know, come on. Sterling works with us and programming the 5 at 5 Shorts program, and Dominique works with us in US cinema. And are we ready to do this? Okay. We thought that, knowing that we have so many films, that what we would do is to tell you what some of our favorite hidden gems are, but that we would describe them in 3 words. So that was our. You didn't do.
I wasn't aware of that part.
You didn't do your homework?
I'll go last.
Okay. Well, what if we go sort of like one by one? I've got to get my notes out here. And don't go. We each did 3, but what if we go 1, 2? Just take one each and just go back and forth. Does that sound okay? Do you want to go first? Yeah, go for it.
All right. The relation trip. My 3 words are PB&J, Airbnb, puppets. I'm going to go start with Esteban, a Cuban film, and my 3 words are music, aspirations, and hardship.
I'm choosing a German film called Western. Was that yours?
I was going to do that one too. Go for it.
Okay, well, maybe you can come up with better ones than Western. It's a German film. Good Guys, Bad Hombres, Bulgaria.
You did much better than I did.
Okay, Italian film after the war. No war. Politics, family, and murder.
Spoor by Agnieszka Holland from Poland. Wily, witty, wise. Wow.
James Broughton's The Bed, Mount Tam, 16mm restoration. And going back again, we'll go with Law of the Land, Finnish film noir.
Nice. You can tell none of us know what adjectives are. Let me see. I'm going to give you. Desert Bride from Argentina and Chile. Charming, sublime, satisfying.
Okay. Film stars don't die in Liverpool. Annette Bening. that's 2 words. Romance and incest.
Chow Chow, it's a Chinese film by Song Chuan. Urban, rural, techno-pop, candy-colored landscapes.
That was way more than 3 words. I am going to bring back The Last Pig, and compassion, husbandry, and humanity.
Nice.
A Sibling Mystery, directed by Rachel Wartell and Dan Erickson. Lottery Ticket, Break-In, Huge Mistake. I'm having trouble deciding on my last 2, but I think I'm going to go with, it's a tough choice. Okay, so The Mystery of Green Hill from Croatia. I'm going to actually give you 3, I'm just going to go with Stranger Things, Lena, Stand By Me, and Encyclopedia Brown.
Wow. Say that again.
Encyclopedia Brown. Does anyone know who Encyclopedia Brown is?
All
right, that's good enough for me. Ask the person next to you to raise their hand.
was going to, Karen Davis, our world co-programmer, is not with us this evening because she's teaching. And I have a French film for her called Strange Birds, which is directed by a woman named Elise Girard. It stars Lolita Chama, who is the daughter of Isabelle Huppert. It's a lovely, lovely film. And her 3 words were, love in Paris.
Since my whole list has already been used by everybody on the panel, I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It's going to be the current war, and I'm going to say Edison, Westinghouse, and Tesla.
Okay, I'm going to go with Robin Campillo's film BPM, Beats Per Minute. Dynamic, human, breathless.
And I'm going to cheat by using these 3 words, Joe, Sly, and Roy, because we have 3 terrific concert films about Joe Satriani, Roy Rogers, and Sly Stone, and we are going to have 3 terrific concerts in relation to those 3 documentaries at the Sweetwater over this course. We're going to have 10 straight days of music at the Sweetwater, but a ton of synergy between really great performers and really great movies about those performers. So keep an eye out on those too.
And just to add to that, there's documentaries like the Mad Hannons, Jerry Hannon and his brother. It's really a documentary about music. Oh, no, I'm closing the shop up here. So, this film is about family. It's about music, and we'll have a musical show by them as well. And of course, on closing night on the 15th, it's not formally part of closing night. We will be doing a benefit for the early stages of planning for the Sequoia Theater. As many of you may know, that we own the property, but we have many years and many millions of dollars to raise to renovate that theater into something like the Raffel. And so Huey Lewis, after 10 years of talking with him and the band, is going to do 2 shows, one at 7 and one at 9 on October 15th. So we're really excited about that, along with all the other great musical programs that deal with Paul Butterfield and Joe Satriani and just amazing musicians. We should talk a little bit more about closing night. There's one film we didn't mention, I believe. Did we not mention Lady Bird? Oh, we did?
Well, we talked about Greta Gerwig, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and her film Lady Bird is the co-closing night film. We'll also be honoring her with the Mill Valley Film Festival Award. And I think my phone just went off, forgive me. I'm just going to turn it off. I'm sorry, I just don't want that noise happening again. So the current war, which Mark alluded to with his fabulous triptych of electrifying men, will be playing in Mill Valley, and Lady Bird will be playing here at the Raffel. The closing night party will be...
It will be in the plaza in Mill Valley, the first time we've done that party in the plaza.
Well, that'd be fun.
Of course, we've done an opening night, so you can possibly, if you like, go to the party and see a 7 o'clock show, and then go to the party, or vice versa. It's totally up to you. And we think it's going to be a fabulous way to close the Mill Valley Film Festival. I think we have time for just a few questions. But I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank our fabulous programmers for working so hard all year on this program. Are there any questions? Does anyone, gentleman right here, shout it out loud, please? Yeah, the guests will ultimately be on the website. We didn't mention the director of who did Simon Curtis will be here with Goodbye Christopher Robin, who did My Week with Marilyn in 2011 here. We mentioned Lou Diamond Phillips. Who else would anyone like to?
Danny Houston. Danny Houston directed The Last Photograph. He's a famous actor, but also part of the Houston legacy, so he is expected to be here too.
Right.
Say that again?
The closing weekend, Quest is playing on the 14th and 15th. Right now, that's the plan, yes.
Yes. I don't have a program with me, Janice.
I am pretty sure it is on Sunday, October 8th. It's in the grid. It's not at 1 p.m. See,
correct.
That's right. I said October 8th, 1 p.m. Yeah, at the cinema.
Yes, in the back. I'm sorry? Satriani, Joe Satriani.
Did you say when do the ticket sales go when tickets go on sale? Are those being sold through the
those
Sweetwater,
are being
right?
sold. It's a great question. It reminds us to tell you that the music shows are being sold through the Sweetwater site. So I apologize. You have to go to 2 different places to do that. Film to Mill Valley, music to Sweetwater.
But I believe they are on sale
I think
tomorrow.
they're on sale
if
as
you
we
are a
speak.
member, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Visante is a Brazilian film shot in black and white. The director is, I think, Daniela Thomas, who is better known as a collaborator with the Brazilian director Walter Salles. It's set during the end of the colonial era in Brazil, where slavery is on its wane as the colonialists realize that the silver and gold that they're mining is coming to a close. It's about the end of that era. It's a really magnificent film to look at, very atmospheric visually and in terms of its sound quality. It's one of a total of 8 films that we have as part of our Viva El Cine program, and that includes 2 films from Chile, in addition to the film A Fantastic Woman, which is fantastic and you have to see it, is another film called Los Perros by an emerging woman director named Marcela Said, who tells the story still of the aftermath of the Pinochet era in Chile and how an upper-class woman comes to understand the role that both her father and her writing teacher had during that time. El Amoral is a really incredible film from Venezuela. Did I say it? Amparo, El Amparo. It's taken me months to get that right, and I still don't have it right. Based on a true story of fishermen who were ambushed by the military and the aftermath of what happened in their steadfastness in telling the truth. It's really from the point of view of the workers. It's really a beautifully done film. Summer 1993 is one of is Spain's submission for Best Foreign Film. This is an amazing director who tells the story of a little girl who has lost both her parents and has to go live with her uncle in the Catalan region of Spain. And so it's magnificently beautiful to look at, but also the director's expertise is in directing children. So you have a 5-year-old showing a whole range of emotion with her 3-year-old cousin, and both of them are amazing actresses. So that's one that you don't want to miss. And that was called Summer 1993. Did you want to talk about Esteban?
Well, I gave my 3 words about Esteban, but Esteban is it's a Cuban film about a young boy who is being raised by a single mother in Cuba, where hardship is common, and she's really struggling to make ends meet. And he decides he really wants to learn how to play the piano, and he comes across a man who is playing the piano in his house and decides he wants him to teach him. But this kid is amazing. Janice likes to say that he looks like a baby Barack Obama, which he does.
And the music for the film is by a world-famous jazz pianist, Chucho Valdez, if you've ever heard his music. I happened to be in Havana for the first time in December, and he was the opening act for the Havana Jazz Festival. So it's pretty exciting that his music is also in that film.
Are there any other questions?
So Lamb and Tony Erdmann, one of the things that I look for are things that would is matches. I would say with those two, I would propose The Shape of Water and let me think. There was something else that came to mind when you were saying that. Gosh.
I was going to say if she loved Lamb, that really she should see Liana. But
Liana, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I think this is right. Yeah, that's a good, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
It's
on your closing night in the beginning of the catalog.
Yeah, so the
beginning.
titles of most of the films are alphabetical in the body of it, and then if they're on a big night, they have the notice on the big night page.
Yes.
Wait for your laugh. And again, it's like one of those phrases that you will totally get once you see the film. Wait for your laugh.
We actually have one more trailer that we'd like to show you. It's from The Shape of Water. And we want to thank you all, and we hope your ticketing purchases go smoothly. And thank you so much for being part of the mobilization.
If I told you about her, the princess without voice, what would I say?
Eliza, come on. Eliza, hurry.
She deaf?
Mute, sir. She can hear you.
You clean that lab, you get out.
This may very well be the most sensitive asset ever to be housed in this facility.
You may think that thing looks human. Stands on two legs, right? But we're created in the Lord's image. You don't think that's what the Lord looks like, do you?
This creature is intelligent, capable of language, of understanding emotions.
When he looks at me, he does not know how I am incomplete. He sees me as I am.
J'avoue, je n'ai bavé pas vous, mon amour. Avant d'avoir eu vent de vous.
The natives in the Amazon worship it like a god.
Get him out. What are you talking about? No.
We need to take it apart, learn how it works.
I don't want an intricate, beautiful thing destroyed.
We can do nothing. I'm sorry. Don't do this, Eliza. What is she saying? Don't do this.
Oh, God, it's not even human.
If I told you about her, what would I say? I wonder.